Hello there, depending on where you are in the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's very nice to have you. We've got another action-packed This Week in WordPress show. We're on number 208, and
Woo.
very, very nice to have you with us. We are joined, as always. Look, the screen is full of lovely people.
Yay.
Well, the guy in the top left is a bit dodgy, but the other ones are fine and dandy. And we're going to talk about WordPress, and we're going to talk about WordPress with the following people. First up, Michelle. How are you, Michelle?
I am good. I just had a week of vacation, so I really can't complain.
Oh, where did you go? Did you go somewhere nice? Or
I spent the entire week bird watching. I rented an Airbnb in the middle of nowhere, New York, and spent every day except the one day it rained, which I couched the whole day, out with my camera in nature. So,
is this a newfound hobby, or have you been doing this for years and years?
I think I've been doing this about 5 years now. I bought my first camera 5 years ago, and I look back on those first pictures I took and thought were so great, and I'm like, oh, I do so much better now. It's amazing what practice will do.
Yeah, I have the same thing about podcasting. I listen back to the podcast and think how awful they were, and then, but slightly different story. I listen back to last week's and think, not much has changed. But there you go, self-deprecating humor over. Michelle is, well, let me give you her bio. Michelle Frechette is the Director of Community Engagement for Stellar WP at Liquid Web. In addition to her work at Stellar WP, Michelle is the podcast barista at WP Coffee Talk, co-founder of Underrepresented in Tech.com, creator of WP Career Pages, the president for the board of BigOrangeHeart.org, director of community relations and contributor at PostStatus.com. I am running out of breath. I'm going to breathe. Author, business coach, and frequent... Okay, no. I want to do the whole thing because it's good. You should be proud. Author, business coach, and frequent organizer and speaker at WordPress events. She lives in Rochester, New York, where she's an avid nature photographer, as we just found out. And you can find more about her at meetmichelle.online. No, I think it's very good. My list would be considerably shorter. Yours is longer because you do more. And you should
like doing stuff.
Yeah, it's good. You should be very, very proud.
You do great work. Thank you so much.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, thank you.
And that's Birgit. How are you doing, Birgit? Birgit Pauli-Haack from Gutenberg Times, Automatic, and various other places. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm still in Florida, and then looking forward to meeting everybody at who's coming, WordCamp Europe.
Yes, that's all happening very soon. Well, I'll do your formal introduction. Birgit Pauli-Haack is the publisher of the Gutenberg Times. She's the co-host of the Gutenberg Changelog podcast and member of the 6.0 release squad for documentation. We have been talking about 6.0 for a little while, and we will continue to talk about it today. But yeah, thank you, Birgit, for joining us once more. And finally, I interviewed you for the WP Tavern podcast. You've not been on WP Builds. We have what can only be described as the silky voice of Daniel Schutzsmith. How are you, Daniel?
Doing good.
See,
glad to be here.
Yeah, you see that, that voice. Yeah, we're all going to pause and listen, aren't we? Okay, let me do your formal introduction. Daniel Schutzsmith is a producer at the WP Minute, curator of WP Live Streams Directory, co-host of WP Talks on Twitter Spaces, administrator of the WP Twitter community, and now launching WP Dev Toolbox to create a place for developers and builders to learn what tools and processes can make their craft easier. Yeah, well, very nice to have you. Where are you coming from, Daniel?
I am a skip and a jump north of Birgit right now in Florida.
Nice. Is that because you live there or because you're on holiday there? Or
Yep, I live there too.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, he used to live in New York, just for the record.
Okay. Yeah.
Always a New Yorker.
We're it's very, very North America heavy today, isn't it? You guys are all in North America. There's only me, so
we're all in the same time zone. Even.
I know, and you're all getting up ridiculously early, which I fully appreciate. Thank you so much for that. We'll come to some chat messages in a moment if a few come through. Please, if you would like to share this, do that. We'd love for more people to come and join us. That would be lovely. Best way to do that is probably to share wpbuilds.com/live. There's this little bit which I have to do each week. It's a bit boring, but I have to do it each week. And it's all about the commenting system. If you go to wpbuilds.com/live, you need to be logged into a Google account, because it's YouTube comments. However, if you're in our Facebook group and you wish to be de-anonymized, you wish to show us your avatar and we can see your name, then you'll need to go to chat.restream.io/FB. I'm going to say that again, chat.restream.io/FB. It should be in the comment thing, the thread right at the top. Click that and give us authorization, and then we can see who you are. And pause the show for a moment. Just go to Twitter and mention what we're doing, and let's see if we can have a nice conversation today. We've got a few people joining us. I think it's always nice to mention those right at the very start. First off, we've got Marcus Burnett. Hello, everybody. Always happy to start the week seeing all these beautiful smiling faces. Oh, that's nice. Thank you very much. Peter, just simply saying hello. Love all the Florida representation. Tuning in from Orlando area. Okay, all right, okay. It's all happening in North America. We've got Courtney. Stay tuned, Courtney. We're going to talk about the piece that you posted this week. Just slightly north of them is Marcus. This should have been a semi-in-person episode. Yeah, okay. What have we got here? Morning, Peter. Oh, okay. The lurkiest lurker. We've got Matt Cromwell giving us a wave, and we've got Media hosting. Good afternoon, everybody. That's a new face. Nice to see somebody new. Okay, right. Enough of that. I've been droning on for ages. Let's get into the meat and the potatoes of it, shall we? Here we go. First thing that's up is just to say that WordPress 6.0 release candidate 1 has come around. This piece was posted, just a few days ago now, the 3rd of May. I am not going to go into any of the details of this. I am simply going to say it is there. And basically, eyeballs is what's needed at this point in order to make WordPress 6.0 come out and be as smooth as possible with as few bumps in the road as possible. This release candidate needs to be downloaded and it needs to be tinkered with. And then if anybody tinkers with it and things break, the feedback is greatly needed. I don't know if any of you three have anything to add to that. My purpose for putting that on was simply to say it existed, go test it. That'll be very helpful. But if any of you three want to just butt in and say something, feel free.
I just want to enhance that and say every plugin developer and every theme developer really should use the release candidate 1 to check on their products and see that they're still working well with WordPress 6.0.
Yeah, so it's freely available to download now. If you're inexperienced with WordPress, there's this whole process of sort of beta testing and release candidate testing, and you don't want to use this for your regular website. Stay away from anything that starts with release candidate or beta. Just go for the normal releases as they come out, unless you want to stick it on a development environment. Feel free to do that, but don't play with this one unless you are literally playing with it. Okay, well, if that's the case,
Nathan.
It's often just sort of understood that everybody knows what they're doing, and perhaps not. They go, oh, look, we've got a new one. No, don't use it on your live websites. This, however, is a nice new feature. We're looking over at make.wordpress.org. We've got, do we pronounce, do forgive me, is this name that I'm seeing on the screen, is that pronounced Jorge?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Jorge Costa, this is the 3rd of May. This is really great. I think nobody could think this is a bad, somebody, no doubt, somewhere will, but I think this is lovely. Page creation patterns in WordPress 6. So right now, if you're using the block editor, which I'm sure many of you are, when you click add page, you basically get a blank canvas. If you are looking at it for the very, 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 very first time, you'll get a little tutorial guiding you how to use it. But typically you'll go to a blank canvas and you'll have to start filling it up from scratch. Now, if you've adopted block patterns as a way to sort of save away templates and designs, you can then click the plus icon, locate the pattern in question, and you're off to the races. But wouldn't it be helpful if at the point when you created a page, a little modal popped up and said, well, how do you fancy using one of your saved block patterns as the template to get you started on this page. And of course, that's exactly what this does. So new in 6.0, you can choose from patterns. They have to be registered correctly. They have to exist already. But what happens is you click add new, little modal comes up. The picture that I'm looking at, maybe Birgit or Daniel or Michelle have tinkered with this. I don't really know. We'll ask them in a moment. The picture comes up and it just gives you a visual representation of what you're going to be getting and the name of whatever you've saved it as. You click go and that's it. Now, we're very familiar with this. If you've used a page builder for any length of time, often this is de rigueur. This is what you do. You just begin a page, and that's the first job on your list, is to select a template and drop it in and modify it. Nice to see this coming into WordPress core. Kind of cool feature, and I think it's going to save people an awful lot of time. It feels like this absolutely needed to happen. So, open the floor. Anybody wants to comment on this, feel free.
I'm actually really excited about this. Most of my work is doing themes. One of the other things in my day job is doing a very large redesign for the Pinellas County government here in Florida. So we're redesigning our website, and that's about to launch soon on WordPress from a static site. But for that, if we had this to work with, that actually would have been pretty interesting, because we could have used different types of patterns like that instead of page templates. And so that's where I see this kind of replacing in a way. I don't know if that's what they're saying officially, but to me, this is a step in the direction basically to get rid of page templates and make it so that patterns really can be used, for a whole page and get people interested in it. I'm all for it. I like it. It's just going to be a learning curve.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get rid of themed templates, but because you need them for single post and single page displays. And this is only working for pages. So if you start a post, it won't come up. But I really like it. It's so exciting to see that. And other page builders and block plugins had a similar functionality before. And I'm so glad that it's now coming into core, because then it can be integrated with a pattern directory, with theme patterns and all that. So it's a really great improvement. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it would be kind of nice to have an option somewhere. And again, nobody wants to load up the WP settings area with options, but it might be nice to have a tick box somewhere saying, do you want to see pattern directory patterns when you launch a new page? You tick that box, and then from that moment on, every time you add a page, this pops up with that in the future, and you can just start to choose them. Or you could, just begin from a blank canvas if you're into just doing it that way. Michelle, I don't know if you've got anything to throw in on this one.
I haven't used it at all yet, but I have about 3 sites that I need to build in the next 2 weeks. So I'll be playing with it. I'll report back.
There's a couple of caveats that we should throw in. Birgit mentioned the first one, which is that currently this will not be available to posts. You are looking only at pages, which, I guess is a cracking place to start, considering it's it's templated content. It's probably going to be best used in that way. However, this will not work. It's not going to be like switched on for you. You've actually got to do some work. So I'm just going to quote from the website. It says that this modal, the modal containing all the patterns that you've saved away, the modal appears each time a user creates a new page when there are patterns on the website that declare support for core/post-content block types. By default, WordPress 6.0 core does not include any of these patterns, so the modal will not appear without some of these post content patterns being added. And then there's a little teeny little bit of code which you may wish to inspect in order to make that happen. So it's going to be great, but you might need to just go ferreting around and hunting around in order to get it to work. But yeah, really, really nice. So sorry, go on, Birgit.
I think that most of the block themes
I
that
agree.
are now available in the WordPress.org directory
Yep.
will probably implement that as soon as WordPress 6.0 comes out.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, basically, if you don't see anything, then you know that you've got to go exploring a little bit further. But if you see things, then you're off to the races, and hopefully it'll save a lot of people a lot of time. Remembering, of course, that you can save your own patterns, build your own things and save them and import them into your current website projects. So in your case, Michelle, once you've got the first site finished, you can just pull them all across to the second site and the third site and modify as necessary. That'll be a nice labor-saving device.
Exactly.
This one came to me courtesy, I think, of David Bissett from Post Status, but I believe that somebody said that there was another name involved with this project. Who was it?
Olivia Bissett, which
Thank
is
you.
the
So it was
daughter of
Olivia.
David.
Okay.
Yes.
And I seem to remember getting into WordPress. I don't know when it was. I'm going to guess that we were on about the 11th year, maybe the 12th year or something like that. The last time I feel like I celebrated WordPress Day was about when it turned 15. That seems to be the big milestone. And then, as I was saying earlier on the call to you three, COVID came along and kind of erased several of the years of my life. But we're here. We're at 19 years. And there's a lovely new website with a fabulously short URL, wp19.day. Let me say that once more. wp19, as in the numbers 19. .day. I didn't even know that .day was a domain that you could get. I'll certainly be going out looking for those from now on. And it's just a list of thoughts and people putting their thoughts together about what WordPress has meant to them. We got a few video. Oh no! Look, let me just move that along. There we go. We've got a few videos, some quotes from various people in the WordPress community, and I just thought it was a really nice idea. It says May 27th, 2022 is the 19th anniversary of the first WordPress release. We think this is worth celebrating, and we want the WordPress community all over the world to celebrate with us by sharing thoughts, photos, tweets, and joining in 2 fun live events and, wait for it, game shows.
David loves a game show.
So I don't know if anybody wants to comment on that, but I'll let you go for it if you wish.
Yeah. Well, chapeau to David and Olivia to put this together and bring it out so fast. Yeah.
Don't refresh right now because it's not available. It says scheduled maintenance.
Oh no! What have we done?
I was like, I wanted to go look at it, and I was like, oh no.
Let me
We must have 1,000
oh,
people
no,
watching.
you're right. It is.
The HTXS, I think, needs to be refreshed.
Oh dear, the effect. So anyway, it's at wp19.day, and you can go and check it out, which is really nice. It's just
it'll be back.
I'm sure they're probably in the middle of going through their early morning routine of updating plugins and
or WP builds is the new.
Or just we killed it. Yeah, we just killed it. I think the former is far more likely, but unless they are on.
Don't go to any of my sites right now. I just
okay, same sort of thing. Yeah. Okay, so that's one kind of WordPress event that's happening fairly soon, and another one which I wanted to draw everybody's attention to is this. This is one of those live events. It's called Word Sesh. It's been around. I think this has been around probably the original WordPress live event online, right? I think so. I think they were the first people to do that whole thing.
Yeah.
And I want you to bookmark it, stick it in your diary. It's May the 16th to the 20th, 2022. It bills itself as a virtual conference for WordPress professionals, featuring hands-on workshops, incredible sessions, great swag, and an amazing community. Messages from the sponsors, and then we get onto the list of the speakers, and you'll see there's a great big long list of people, and there's going to be an awful lot discussed. I confess I haven't dug deeper into who is speaking about what. I've just looked at the images here and thought this looks like a fascinating event. What's the thoughts on these live events now? Birgit, you were mentioning just a few moments ago that you're going to be heading over to WordCamp Europe. That's like a big change, right? Suddenly those kind of things are possibly on the cards again. How do we think these online events are going to fare? Not just for Birgit, anybody can jump in, but yeah, what do we think?
Well, I think WordSesh has a huge community, and you're right. Brian Richard has producing those events for at least 6 years that I know him. And he has professionalized the putting virtual events together, and he helped the WordPress community to pivot to virtual events in spring of 2020 when the pandemic hit and all the in-person WordCamps were closed, canceled. So and virtual events are still very, very needed because not everybody can jump on a plane and go some places. So the learning and the shared shared knowledge in these virtual events is very, very important to bring new people to the community, to share the knowledge, and have everybody a successful WordPress life, so to speak.
It's totally free. There's no cost attached, and it's spread over 4 days. So basically, a week from now, May 16th to the 20th, 2022. You just go to wordsesh.com and register for free. I think you've got to fill out one field with your email address, and you're done. You can follow them over on Twitter, and presumably they'll have more in terms of the there is a speakers bit here and the schedule. I should go to the schedule. I didn't notice that before. So here we go. Here's the meat and the bones of it. So starts, by the looks of it, it says day one on the 17th, even though further up in the page it said the 16th. So maybe there's some sort of contrib day or something.
On 16th, 11 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, it's that thing. Yeah, okay.
It's
time
separated
zone
into three different sections, basically, of sessions based on time zones. Yep.
Got it. So here we go. Here's the list. I will not bore you by reading them all out, but how many have we got? We've got on the first day 2, 4, 6, 6 speeches with a keynote at the end, and then it looks like a similar thing on the second day, and then on the third day, there's a lot of interest in the last one. There's a keynote all about rebuilding whitehouse.gov in 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's gonna be good.
Oi. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how many pounds of coffee were drunk during those 6 weeks? But a fabulous event. And again, sorry, I've excluded Daniel and Michelle from that. Do you want to drop in anything?
I was going to mention there's also just a great lineup of people speaking at this that I haven't heard before. Folks that have been very vocal on Twitter on the things they're working on, but not necessarily have done a talk on it. So we're going to see like Aruba doing a presentation, Carl Alexander talking about his stuff with Amir, which basically works with AWS. Some really great plugins and services people are talking about that they're using. So it's gonna be really good.
Yeah, nice. Michelle, anything there?
I for one am really happy that we're going to continue to have online events, even in a almost post-pandemic or post-pandemic world. One of the things that we strive for at Big Orange Heart is reducing those feelings of isolation that come with being a remote worker. And as Birgit said, so many people can't afford to just get on a plane and go to a WordCamp. And so to be able to continue to bring events online to people who can access them wherever they have internet is still going to be very important, which is why we're going to continue to do WordFest, 24-hour marathons of WordPress content going forward. And we actually have our next date for the WordFest this fall. I don't know if we've made it public yet, but it will be November 19th.
Nice.
So
Great.
Add that to your calendar too.
Give us that one again. November the what?
19th.
November the 19th. I should add, I'm always terrible at doing my own promotional stuff, but I should add that following on shortly after that, if you're into
maybe it's the 18th. It's the 18th. It's the Friday, whatever the Friday is.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will certainly make sure that in the run up to that event that we mention it over and over again, because that's a really good one. This is the Page Builder Summit, which obviously I'm involved with Anshin LaRue. Mm-hmm. And it's coming up. It's about 6 weeks away now. We've got quite a nice list. I must say the list is quite a bit bigger than this now. We've got quite a few people coming to join us, many familiar faces, but again, like Daniel said, maybe some unfamiliar ones as well. There's a few more to add to the list, probably about another 9 or 10 thus far. But pagebuildersummit.com, you can register, and it's free. It's not quite in the same way free. It's free for the time that it's live. You're free to watch it. And it's happening from the 20th to the 24th of June. So that's in about in about 6 weeks from now. So go and check that one out as well. Okay. Right then, where did we get to? We're on to sort of like personal news now. We've had a couple of events mentioned. Let's go for this one. This is, big mega menu there. This is to say that Yoast have decided to sort of completely rejig their team. I kind of followed the Yoast story for the longest time. Obviously, we had Yoast, whose name is not spelt Yoast, but Joost de Valk was in charge of it. And then several years ago, Marika, his wife, she took over as the CEO, I believe. And then she stepped down a little bit earlier in the year. And so now there is a picture of the sort of like members of the new team. It says, today we proudly present Yoast's new team, leadership team. The past year has been quite a year at Yoast. Big things happened at our beloved company. As the icing on the cake, we now like to introduce you to the leaders. And should we just go through who they are? First, familiar faces. We've got Chaya, who's the Chief Operating Officer. Marika will be the head of strategy. Irene will be in charge of research and development. I don't know how to pronounce her, Herre, will be the new head of technology, and a very familiar face to this show, Taco, who comes on, I don't know, every 5 or 6 weeks and co-hosts with me. He is going to be taking over the role of head of relations. And so, yeah, if you're using Yoast, they were recently acquired by Newfold Digital. Is that the right word? Yeah, Newfold Digital. I've just found it on the screen in August 2021. I think that gave them a certain ability to flex because they weren't necessarily thinking all about the payroll and all of that. Maybe that side of freed things up a little bit. So we've got a new team. If you go to the WordPress plugin repository, they're always there, aren't they? They're always right near the top with their 5+ million active installs. They're definitely doing something right. And I guess when a company is rejigging itself in this way, cause for concern for people who are using the product. They want to know that it's going to remain stable and looked after. Well, let's figure out. I'm sure that they will. But that's the piece of news. Anybody a Yoast user? Anybody got any thoughts on this?
I still use it. I feel like people dump on it a lot, but I still use it and I actually like it. There are a lot of ads that go into the free version there, of course, and so it's valid that people would mention those things. But also too, I think their deployment into Shopify, I think, was also pretty interesting. And that's one of the things that I've been looking at just for like side projects. Like Shopify looks pretty interesting as an alternative to WooCommerce, just to kind of understand. So seeing Yoast over there too gives me some hope that some of the plugins that people have been working on for years might be able to venture into other ecosystems, basically.
I wonder if the Shopify thing is easier for them to monetize because you go into Shopify with the knowledge that you are going to be paying for it, and it's a service, and in most services like that, most SaaS type services, the arrangement is I give you money, you give me a service in return. And so you've just got that in your head, whereas the WordPress thing is a little bit more of a difficult circle to square. So I wonder if it is going to be easier to monetize, and it is growing. I have a lot of colleagues who now they are quite happy to recommend it. If their client doesn't want to get into the weeds of WordPress, then that would be their second suggestion, is just go to Shopify. It'll do 95% of everything you want, and I don't even know what it is. I'm going to say $19 a month or something for their starter plan. Seems like a fairly decent way to go for them.
I think it is. I mean, one of the funny things is that we had a bit of a discussion over a couple months ago on, the whole concept of an ecosystem store type of situation for plugins in WordPress. And that whole conversation really started from Slack, in post status Slack, when Yoast was actually talking about these things over there. And this was before the Shopify announcement. So I wonder if he had already seen, like, kind of behind the scenes what they were looking at in the Shopify environment and seeing that it actually works out really well for them. Those things together. Well,
they're doing something right, that's for sure, because they are hoovering up a large proportion of the, not proportion, but they're definitely doing something right. So anyway, there we go. I guess a piece like this needs to come out to assuage people's fears. If you've got 100 websites as an agency and you've got them all on Yoast and you're paying for the premium version, you want to know that the team are going to be out there looking to bat for you and still updating. And of all the things, SEO seems like the one which is the most, it's a really difficult piece, isn't it? Because Google keep you in the dark. They've got to keep sort of reverse engineering everything and trying to update everything and stay ahead of the game without falling foul of, I don't know, whatever it is that you fall foul of if Google catch you doing nefarious things. And they need a team. I think Yoast recently said they've got something like 130, 120 employees. So they're a big WordPress company. And the usual thing, it says, what does this mean in the road ahead? It means leadership changes, of course. Of course, our mission for SEO won't change at all. We're still dedicated to offering each and everyone equal chances of search results with our software and educational materials. You kind of feel that everybody's going to say that anyway, but nice to hear it.
Yeah. But I also think that with the two people that are very visible in the community, with Taco as well as with Marika, there's a really good continuity there. And Thijs hasn't been coming out of the box suddenly. He has been working for Yoast for quite a bit. I don't know exactly how long, but it's a continuation, and it's definitely a revamp of leadership that makes me actually be very confident, because if you don't have a succession plan for your leadership and execute on it, people burn out, and leadership is a hard thing to do. So it actually increases the trust that I have in Yoast.
They're also very big. I remember it was probably going back about 3 months ago, something like that. I can't remember who did it, but this sort of annual survey of who's committed to WordPress core over the previous year came out. And as you would expect, Automatic is the big circle. And then there are smaller circles, but very much in second place, with by far the next biggest circle was Yoast, and they'd committed a significant number of hours. So from that point of view, they definitely, they definitely have earned the trust of the community, I think, because they do second a lot of people over. But also, and I'm pretty sure that I'm right in saying this, they're usually one of the big sponsors at the bigger of the word camps. And I haven't looked, but I'm going to dare to say that if you went to the WordCamp EU website and looked, I'm more or less guaranteeing that Yoast will be one of the big kind of gold banner standard sponsors. I've just said that, and I have no idea if that's true. but if one of you three wants to go and look and tell me I'm wrong. But they take a lot of that, and obviously it works for them. They get something in return. They're representing themselves at a big event with a big booth and all of that. But equally, it's a good commitment that they put in to keeping those kind of events going, because as we know, the ticket price certainly doesn't pay for, well, even the food that you eat at those events. Somebody's got to be paying for it, and it is largely, I think, done with the sponsorship tiers. So yeah. There we go. Very nice. And Taco can tell us all about it next time he is back. Okay, let's move on. Do a bit of full site editing, shall we? 2 pieces about full site editing. This is very much, I think, maybe in Birgit's wheelhouse. I don't know. Let's see if she wants to contribute to this one. But full site editing outreach number 14. Anne McCarthy has been through 13 previous iterations, and she has this process where she asks you to go and do something in the same way as a lot of other people. The idea being that if a lot of people contribute their feedback about a specific task, meaningful data will come back out of it. And they're very specific, and they're usually a little bit interesting. It isn't like go and create a post and write these lines. And in this case, I think this is quite a cool one. It's number 14, and it's all about creating a recipe post. Now, Goodness knows whether or not you will be creating a recipe piece actually at any point in the near future. But the principle, though, is what can you do with it? How can you jazz it up and make it look good? What things can you deploy? And she wants you to try out a few different things. Justin Tadlock, which is the piece which is on the screen now, has a piece on the 5th of May. It's called FSE Outreach number 14, Building Recipe Posts with Lists and Quotes. And you can see, if you're looking at the screen, what Justin managed to do. There's a couple of things that he got out of it. He likes the new list and the quote blocks, particularly the new list block. And I didn't know this, but apparently, Birgit, you can tell us if this is true or not. Apparently, if you now create a list, previously the block was just a block of the list items. It was one block. And if you click return, you'd get another portion of that block. You'd get another dot or whatever it may be, depending on how you decided to style it. But now, if I read it right, you can put blocks within the list block. So the list items themselves can be other blocks. Did I read that right?
Yes, that's exactly right. And that's an experimental block right now. So it won't be in 6.0. And you need to have the plugin, Gutenberg plugin installed. And there's in the admin section, there's a menu item called experiments. And you need to turn that on to be able to test this. Because the list view, as the list as well as the quote block are right now in the development phase for the second version of it, and that is to use other blocks within the block. So the quote block, you can have images in there, and also style your paragraphs, and you can have lists in quote blocks. That's kind of the ultimate test. Yeah, having inner blocks and inner blocks and inner blocks. But it's the version that is now being tested. So this is quite future looking into the future of the next iteration, while the team works on 6.0 release to have people really go through the process and test those new blocks and see what works, what doesn't work, and what should be better. And the feedback is really helpful for the product team to make this as best that it can be before it comes out of experiments into the plugin, and then from the plugin into the WordPress core. So there are quite a few iterations happening. And you're right there in the forefront if you test it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you feel like you've helped a little bit as well, which is quite a nice thing. So
that's a big help.
Yeah. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Right, I'm going to put us all on the spot, because every single application that I've ever used, if I invoke a list, I just get a list. I get a list, and it's the same all the way down until I stop making bullet point items. I can change the styling of, maybe it becomes an arrow instead of a dot, or it becomes, I don't know, whatever. But the list is just a list item. And I am trying to think about, although it's really cool that I could put other things inside of a list item, I'm trying to think of a use case where I could actually benefit from that. What can anybody come up with one off the top of their head where having a different item in a list item would be cool or useful?
Yeah, we have this use case right now in the government website. So we've been having trouble because we need to do exactly that. We need to put in an image basically into that list so that they can actually see something we're referencing. Yeah. So even something that simple. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. All right. You've just nailed it straight away. An image inside of a list that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I'm
for right now to get around that. I just want to mention for right now to get around that, we've actually been using Aruba Ahmed's super list block.
Yes.
Which does similar things. Yep.
Yeah. He seems to be on a clip, doesn't he, at the minute, creating fun and interesting stuff. But okay, so it might be images, right? I'm going to throw it to Birgit. Images is ticked off the list. You're not allowed to use images. You've got another idea.
I can't use images. No. Well, you could also use a gallery block to kind of pivot off that.
Yeah.
But the one is also, sometimes you want to have a second paragraph on a list item, and now you can do it. Otherwise, you would have to shift enter and then manage the distances of it. So this definitely will allow you to do that. You could even have a heading in there, and then have different paragraphs for a particular heading. So,
so you could, you could have nested lists where they each get their own heading. So you could have H2, then H3 and H4, and okay, all right. Now it's starting to become clear. Michelle, have you got any? Two have been stolen.
Podcast embeds where you want to list the episodes.
You see, you're all really clever, and I couldn't manage one. And I just thought, actually, styling, just being able to style things differently. So this one paragraph is in, I don't know, some sort of font, some sort of code readable font, and all of the others are in a different font, or there's italics for this one or not for that one. Yeah, it's actually really cool. It's although it's bound to the list block, what it's showing for me is that you can nest these lists. Sorry, you can nest these blocks within blocks within blocks within blocks, and you can get really creative. Whereas on the sort of page builder side of things, essentially whatever the module does. And unless you're willing to build your own modules, you're kind of confined to that functionality. Whereas with things like this, so long as you're prepared to chuck the things in and nest them and all of that kind of stuff, you can get really creative with it all.
Yeah, and the test call for testing is actually to push it to the edge. Try and break it and see what breaks with all your nesting, kind of thing. Yeah, so that's the call.
There's a good question. There's a good question in the chat. It's just the anonymous Facebook user, but asking how accessible is the image or other content within list element. That's a good question.
Good point. Yeah. I don't have any insight into that. I'm going to put my finger in the air and say probably not that accessible at the moment, but I guess that will. I guess it depends.
I mean, I would assume that image alt attributes would still work just the same way, and that tabbing through, however it's embedded, is still going to work with a screen reader, I'm assuming, but I haven't tested it.
Sorry, I wasn't meaning specifically about the images. I was meaning, if you literally started to throw anything, the kitchen sink at it, every scenario of possible block embedded in possible block, we'd have to wait and see. Whoever you are, go and download it and play with it and see what you get.
So we did have to go ahead and just do a workaround, just doing straight HTML basically to do this stuff for now, and it passes a WCAG fine. Okay. Like that's the accessibility guidelines. So I mean, it's fine as long as you have that alt text in there and you're not putting tab attributes on it.
Okay, perfect. Good answer.
For image. I don't know about other things.
Good question, Facebook user. You may have missed the beginning of the show, but there is a link right at the very top. If you wish to click that link, it's from Restream. It will allow us to know who you are. You may wish to remain anonymous.
Put your name in parentheses afterwards.
Oh yeah, or just tell us what your name is by typing it at the beginning of your comment. Yeah, it's a good point. Anyway, the whole point of that article isn't for us to talk about list items and things like that. The whole point of the article is that you go and play, and then give Anne McCarthy and anybody else that is going to be reacting to this your feedback. So right at the very top of the link, you can see here it says it's open to the public now, and if you click over there, you'll be taken to the article. It was 28th of May, and it's called Rallying Recipe Reviewers. It's over at make.wordpress.org. As always, I will link to all of these within the show notes that will be coming out with the podcast.
Can you go back to the...
I can.
Can you scroll down?
Yep.
Because I don't care what it says there. I am never going to make a spaghetti taco.
This is Justin. Justin, do you follow Justin?
Some fusion doesn't need to be done.
Does anybody follow Justin on Facebook or anything like that? I do. Justin is like a prodigious cook. He's like every couple of days he'll throw a picture of something that he's made the previous day, and he really makes a lot of effort with his food. So I think he did actually mention in the article this was right up his street. So all I'm saying is he cooks a lot and he's making spaghetti tacos. So there must be something in there. He did say, look, he said, I had fun with this testing round. Recipes are my jam, so I picked the perfect one to share. He's not making this up. This is real food.
He he made a mulberry pie yesterday and picked the mulberries himself. He said.
You see, yeah,
Okay,
by
that's
the
pretty
looks
cool.
of it, he posts photos of his sort of gardening projects, doesn't he? And it looks like he's got quite a nice bit of land which he spent time cultivating to grow fruit and vegetables and things. And out they come out the ground and they go into Justin's pot. It's absolutely great. Jess Frick, hello, Jess. She's saying she
Jess.
haven't tried the tacos, but spaghetti pizza is the bomb. There you go. You see, another one. And
I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna take your word for that, Jess. I'm not gonna test that theory.
Spaghetti pizza, yeah. Okay, it's like
So-
a bread sandwich or something
Can-
like that.
Could I have some carbs on my carbs, please?
That's right, yeah, exactly. Just before
Well,
we move
Michelle-
on,
So, Michelle, you're not a real fan of spaghetti with mashed potatoes either.
this
Is
is
that
all
something
wrong.
that you eat?
That was my favorite food when I was little, like 8 or
Oh.
9
my
years old.
Goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Together
okay.
with
I'm
Hawaii
gonna go.
toast.
I'm gonna go with no. As I eat my
Oh,
breakfast.
okay.
Breakfast was just delivered, so
I'm just going to put up for everybody's benefit. Daniel, just a moment ago, mentioned a plugin that he'd used recently, Superlist. And you can find it at aruba.com, AUROOBA.com, and it's
She's
called
amazing.
Superlist.
Fantastic, yeah.
we
And
need to get her on the show if she hasn't been on here yet.
yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, okay. And what specifically were you using? What were you implementing from this, Daniel? What was the specific key thing?
This I've been using it for a site I'm working on right now that has grids in it. So this was able to allow me to do grids with a list.
Okay, like
kind
this,
of
like we're
way.
seeing on
Yep.
the screen there. Okay, great. Okay, all right. Well, I confess I've never seen that one before, so I will stick it in tomorrow's show notes. That's good. This one isn't really for comment, but I just thought I'd put it up. Every so often you come across an article which is just quite helpful. Will Morris over on Talk Magazine. It's not a particularly long article, probably take you like 10, maybe 15 minutes to read. It's just a bit of a primer on full site editing. I know that by now a lot of you have probably dabbled with this, but if you haven't, published 5th of May, it's up to date. Full site editing, your complete guide. And it, like I say, it kind of gets you over the main humps in about 10 or 15 minutes. So I'll include that in the show notes tomorrow as well. So there's that. Right. Courtney. I wonder if Courtney's still paying attention. She was in the comments just a moment ago. We have Courtney's article. It was over on make.wordpress.org. She would like to make that's a bit meta, isn't it? She would like to make a make WordPress team project updates, and I'm just highlighting the fact that she's endeavoring to do this. You can find it. It's over at make.wordpress.org. Search for Courtney Robertson, or the piece itself is entitled Proposal: make WordPress team or project updates. And the idea really is that it's just one place which you can reliably visit, which has pretty much everything that you may like to know concerning what's going on with those two projects. So I'm just going to click on it and open it, and you can see here, like, right, ready for the scroll. Okay, so this is stuff which has happened recently in WordPress. Now you're not gonna be able to keep up with this, but it's in the following sections: core, design, mobile, accessibility, polyglot, support, documentation. I've got a sore finger scrolling by now. Support articles, developer articles, themes, plugins, community, meta, training, lesson plans, workshops, courses, their subcategories, social learning spaces, test TV, WPTV videos, marketing, CLI, hosting, Tide, Openverse, photos, updates, projects, systems, news. There is more. Jobs, Central, WordCamp, WordPress Foundation. So, basically it's a quick 2-minute read. You should be done with most of the stuff in here pretty quickly. But I think the intention was, let's just put lots of stuff all in one place in an easy taxonomy that you can understand. It'll self-propagate and self-update is, I think, the purpose. So basically, if you just get that URL, hopefully you can keep refreshing it and the content will be refreshed. Courtney's back. Have I got that right, Courtney? And whilst you decide whether to respond to that or not, how cool is this? Everything in one place. That's so nice, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
and I
total
believe
fan
it's
of that.
using
Thank you. Sorry.
I believe it's using the GitHub workflow, right, to actually do that, which I haven't played with yet, which is pretty cool.
I am not sure. Courtney maybe can tell us. But I mean, honestly, there must be like two or 300 things referenced there. You know, some of it is potentially a few weeks old. I think some stuff goes back to March, but there's an awful lot of stuff in there which happened during the last few days. So there's things in that list 6th of May, things in that list from the 4th of May, the 10th of May. What? Oh, it's the agenda for the chat on the 10th of May. I was thinking, she's posting from the future. How good is she? Surely it's the 9th of May. Yeah, I get it. But essentially, it's all being kept up to date. Teams and their outposts updated via RSS, she says. So I can probably read the URL for this one easily enough. It's github.com. In fact, let me just post it on the screen. It's going to be a whole lot easier than me just trying to read it. Add. Is that going to work? Yeah, there we go. So it's github.com / Courtney R -dev / make -WP. I don't know if that's the intended home for ever and ever, but that's where it's living now. And it really is like everything that you could possibly need to know. So I think it's worth a bookmark. And again, it's in the show notes if you miss it. Oh, here we go. Daniel. She says GitHub Actions under the hood to update all this over RSS.
Cool.
There you go. Clever. Very clever. So, yeah, props to Courtney. Now, let's move from props to more props. Double props. This is so interesting. I don't even know where to begin with this one. I've never... Well, actually, that's not true. We had Anne McCarthy with her Museum of Block Art a little while ago, which had a flavour of this, I suppose. But this is... I have no relationship with art particularly, other than that I know what I like when I see it, but I don't visit art galleries. But I do recognize that, you know, this stuff is needed in the world. People thrive off it. People love it. And I think it's fair to say that art is kind of a hard gig to make a living from. So wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be lovely if somebody stepped up and said, do you know what? We're going to allow you to create some digital art and we'll employ you to do it. Well, as luck would have it, the guys over at GetShifter have done exactly that. It's their residency program. They're calling it Internet Art at Digital Cube Residency Program. Rachel Winchester posted about this a couple of weeks ago. So it's not brand new news, but I thought it was worth looking at. And Digital Cube's Internet Art Residency Program is officially open for proposals. So you're going to be in a bit of a competition, but hopefully they'll find a winning artist. We seek an artist, it says, quote, to make internet art with us and to temporarily join the Digital Cube community as our, check this out for a cool title, artist in residence. I want that job. Not only do we want to create artworks, but we're excited about creating work opportunities to help artists develop their careers. This is a paid opportunity. The artist's pay rate will be negotiated during the selection process. In addition to the work the artist will do with the Digital Cube team on their project, we have other creative and collaborative activities planned, giving presentations, workshops, hijacking their social media accounts, creating content for blogs. So it could be not just art, but it could be, you know, writing things and so on as well. So, okay, I'm just a bit knocked over by this. I just think it's exceptionally cool, and props, bravo to the GetShifter crew. Maybe there's somebody, maybe it's Rachel herself who wrote this, Rachel Winchester, who has a deep interest in art. I don't know, but I'm so pleased that somebody is doing this. Excellent. And I want you all to fully comment on this because I think this is brilliant. And then silence.
I think it's great. I mean,
yeah.
One of the things I've seen in the past too is a similar type of thing in different startups that were, you know, out in California, or also in a lot of digital agencies in New York when I was working there that would do something like this, where you have artists in residency. This is a little bit more unique because it's completely online, so you're virtual, So I think that's going to be pretty interesting. The other key thing it says in there too is that they actually get to use the same resources as everyone else in the company. So they can pull in staff to help create things. They don't have to be able to. It seems they don't have to be able to know all the technologies. They can actually have the staff help them do things to execute their vision.
So you fully become like a member of the team, as it said. You'll become a member of the team for
Yep.
that period of time, and that's so nice. Anyway, sorry, Michelle, you carry on.
No, I just said I was agreeing. I think it's a great idea. I just also wondering where NFTs might come into play in the future, because it just seems like some of that artwork would probably be for sale at some point like that. But
intriguing. Okay, so you think maybe it's
all
a
digital,
sort of
right?
forward play into like the future of NFTs, and maybe
Or at
they'll.
least it could be. I mean, it could be, right?
Yeah.
They may decide to take part in that ecosystem over there too. But I think it's fascinating, and I'm constantly talking about the non-developer side of WordPress and technology, specifically marketing usually for me, but the artistry that comes along with what we do is phenomenal. It's hard to find one person that can do the artistry of it and also the deep development of it, as somebody that has all of those marketing and all of those things together. So to see projects pull those people together to create beauty, I think is a wonderful thing.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Birgit, anything to add?
Well, I can only reiterate what Daniel and Michelle are saying. It's a really cool project, and I love that the artists also get to know more about technology, because that's their next home. It's one thing. Yeah, they will have exhibits online. They will have to even sell their art online. And for companies that are very like Digital Cube, is very technical oriented, they have a hard time creating websites that are visually appealing, that are pulling people in from a visual point of view. So having a resident artist that helps with that part as well. Yeah, being when I look at Yoast, we just looked at the website there. Yeah, they have a resident cartoonist for the last 10 years already. Yeah, that does all the avatars and does all the featured images and all their visuals in the courses. Yeah, so there is a huge field.
That person that does those avatars, they're a staff member, just for that. I mean, I don't mean just for that, but for all of their blog posts and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So, and we need more artists to be able to be that person to find a visual vocabulary for a company that is mainly online. So I think it's a great initiative.
That was really far-sighted, I think, of Yoast to do that, because since I've been in WordPress, that theme, I've never seen things from Yoast where that feel and look didn't exist. So whenever that began, I joined WordPress after that, or at least noticed Yoast. And every time they get a new blog post, they've got a bespoke piece of art. And I just kind of assumed that they would sort of freelance that out to somebody, but having somebody on staff that can take care of that's kind of cool. The other one that I don't know if you've noticed more recently is Master WP. They've got this beautiful website, and every time they create a new post, now either they have the most amazing stock image resource, or they've got somebody making their little posts each time. But each time they come out, they've got what looks almost like a pastel watercolory kind of thing on their posts that relate to the post in question. So there was one this week about blocks, and it was the block protocol. And so they've got this beautiful picture of a bunch of blocks. Now, maybe that existed already, but it feels like they're getting those made because they're very specific. And you notice it, right? It just somehow locks in, and Master WP just feels like quality for me. There's just one more reason why I think that website is great.
Give WP has had an artist, as a graphic artist, as part of this full-time staff for over 3 years. Nice. And Stellar WP does as well. Specifically somebody that was with the events calendar who came into Stellar when the events calendar was acquired. And Jackie is a phenomenal artist, and she does a lot of the work that you see on the Stellar WP things.
I am
So
so
I-
getting schooled. I didn't know any of this was going on. These artists who just lurk, making great
Yeah.
things that I just assume freelancers have done. Oh, that's lovely. So
Yeah.
give WP as
Mhm.
well. Yeah. Right. Okay. I'm totally going to go off on a tangent now that none of you are expecting because somebody said the word NFT. NFT for me is a trigger word. It causes verbal
Sorry.
diarrhea.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's
It
fine.
was me. I
It's fine.
apologize in advance.
No, it's coming now.
Michelle, it's your fault.
I've been
It
sitting
is
here.
my fault.
I don't get it. Would somebody explain why you would part with your hard-earned money for an NFT? Just, you don't have to answer it, but every time this topic comes up, I'm like, wait, no, I don't get it. I still don't get it. No matter how hard I try, I still don't get it. Even though I want to get it, I don't get it. Somebody put me out of my misery.
Can we just say that the word fungible is like one of the most fun words
Right.
to say out there? Like, I was like, what does NFC stand for? Non-fungible, fungible. Like, and I thought I had never heard that word.
There's
before.
a tribe. I'm going to use the word tribe from ancient Ethiopia back in the 1400s, and their name is possibly the best word ever. Their name is the Funge. Funj. Isn't that just a roll off the tongue? The Funge. Anyway, back to NFTs.
So,
I'm more a fan of fudge, but that's a different story.
The Funge.
right.
Does anybody? Are you curious about this stuff, or are you like me, just aghast when you see people spending like hospital wing amounts of money on the right to say I got the first this or that thing that's digital is mine? I don't get
All
it.
I've got to say is, if you are interested in spending that kind of money, visit my Instagram. Any of my photos are for sale.
Yes. Or go and I shouldn't get all political. Or just go and give it to a school or something.
Yes,
you know.
absolutely.
I don't.
I've minted a few with the Wapos and stuff and things like that, and played around with it. But it's I'd say 99% of it is really just glorified baseball card collecting. Like that's how it feels. There's a market for it right now. If you talk to folks like Jason Calacanis and folks that are on the kind of the cusp of a lot of these things happening, Kevin Rose, they say this is just the very start of that whole technology of using NFTs and all these things. So
yeah,
it is what it is right now.
Maybe there's something useful that'll come of it, but for now,
that's what they'll talk about. Yeah, they'll talk about 5 years down the road.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I haven't been buying NFTs, no doubt. Anyway, I don't suppose I will. But you said the trigger word, Michelle, so I had to dive in. I'm sorry. All right, let's get back to WordPress. That's right. Yeah.
You made them fungible.
That's yeah. Right. Let's go for this. This is kind of nice. This is image filters plugin. Kevin Batdorf. This is over on the WP Tavern website. The image filters plugin adds over 20 filters, including vintage, pastel pink, and more. If you've got a mobile phone, this is nothing new. You've had this on your phone, Instagram, for probably over a decade now. But it's kind of a nice feature to come into WordPress. You chuck in an image, you press a button in the block settings, and on the screen we can. I don't even know what they are. What are they? There's furry creatures, little plush toys that look a bit like an octopus. Could be a squid mixed with a cat. I'm not sure, but you can imagine. It applies a sort of green layer to it, or applies some sort of filtering to make it look a little bit different.
I think those are foxes.
They're not foxes. Are they foxes? That's a squid octopus cat thing. That's what that is. But I think somebody in the comments made the same thing. Hang on a minute, I'm going to find it. Oh dear!
Wait, it said foxes. Look at the second one. It said.
Oh,
foxes.
was it? Okay, foxes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Can I
okay.
recolorize the foxes?
I'm going to assume. Okay, I'm going to assume that they're foxes. All right. But another use case. It's just another little block from a developer. Does one thing. Does it really well. Could you do this in Photoshop? Yes, of course you could.
Does everybody have Photoshop?
Right,
Know how to use it?
exactly.
That's the
right.
question, right?
And do you need all of those skills? I don't know how many you get to choose from. I think it's 20 plus. It seems to be in my memory, 22, 25,
22.
something. 22.
Right
Thank you.
there.
So it's limited. It'll do whatever you see on the screen. But I just thought that was a cool block worth
Yeah, for
mentioning.
sure.
It's great.
I like things like this because as a theme developer, I don't want people to really to mess with the images in the first place, like the original image. So if they could just use a CSS filter and put it over it, terrific.
Yeah.
You know, if we can limit it even more, that's even better.
Interestingly, apparently this doesn't apply CSS to the image. Apparently this creates a new version of the image, which sits in the library somewhere. So I guess there might be some concern around that. You know, if you're happily clicking, I'll create all 18 and I'll see which one I like best. I don't know where they live or if they get expunged. So that could be a cause for
Why
concern.
is my site so slow?
That's right. I have used 16 gigabytes of my storage in the last 12 weeks. I don't get it. So that might be a concern. So choose wisely. Pick wisely. Only click once. Or maybe it'll just delete. I don't know. Anyway, the point is I love these blocks, a bit like Daniel. I love these blocks that do one thing and just one thing well. And it's, you know, will I make use of this? Me personally, probably not. But I can see that it could well be useful for other people. Yeah. Okie doke.
I like it. Yeah. And Kevin is actually a developer and Extendify team.
Is he really? Okay.
They explore extending the core plugs quite a bit.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that's their sort of UVP, isn't it? Is basically, you know, if you use our product Extendify and you've got their Pro suite, or you know, I think you get 10 free patterns a month or something if you're on the free plan. Maybe not a month, maybe in total. But the idea being that they apply very little. You know, it's not like a premium suite of blocks. They just use the core blocks, add a bit of, I think it's Tailwind or something, which you can then keep yourself if you like. So, okay, that's cool. Didn't know that. Righty-ho. Where are we up to now? We are... Right, I really don't know what to say about this. I'm going to just throw it out there. I've got a feeling that this came from Brainstorm Force. I could be wrong. I don't know if anybody wants to go and inspect somewhere or other. But this is... so Brainstorm Force, I should say. They produce things like the Astra theme, which is a hugely popular WordPress theme. They produce things like ultimate add-ons for Elementor and Beaver Builder. What else do they do? They've got a whole suite of... they've got a thing called ConvertBox. They've got a whole load of WordPress products, basically, and some of them are very successful. And I think this is them. They've got this new thing called Spectra. Now, the devil's work trying to figure out what it does, but their marketing piece is just launching it. It says Spectra 2.0 enables you to create websites that are as fast and as hand-coded ones and easy for users of any skill level. Whole point of this page is to try and get you to sign up. You click request access and you go to a form and sign up about the access. Now, obviously, anybody that's ever used Gutenberg will instantly recognize this is not some kind of new proprietary builder. There's an image here and it's clearly using the block editor. And it says what's coming is a complete layout system, powerful layout mechanism that lets you solve common responsive web design problems using a simple, powerful interface. They're going to throw in 30 plus blocks. They say it's built for speed, powerful workflow features, blah, 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 you know, the usual marketing stuff. But it's all built inside the WordPress block editor. I don't even know what this is going to be. I mean, I can understand if it was just a suite of blocks, but what's this complete layout system? Why? I mean,
if you go to the main URL, wpspectra.com, there's a banner at the top.
Oh, you see.
This used to be Ultimate, or maybe it's not shown. Oh, there it is. Ultimate add-ons for Gutenberg. So now it's called Spectra.
Okay, so are we looking at anything new then? Or is it now just repackaged with a different you know, your name, instead of calling it Ultimate Add-ons, which is a bit of a long thing, isn't it? Ultimate Add-ons
like
for Gutenberg.
2.0.
Yeah, Spectra 2.0. Yeah, some of the sort of marketing pieces seem to be the same. I don't know. Maybe that was me being sucked in by their marketing. But anyway, Spectra, it's a thing.
I've played with it before. I mean, it doesn't have a lot of bloat to it. It does give you the ability to kind of turn things on or off and decide what you want to use. But I haven't played with it enough to know, you know, how useful everything is.
What do you reckon to all these things, Birgit, that are starting to bolt into into WordPress's block editor that in some way kind of lock you in. In other words, if you start using them, you've then got to keep using them. Otherwise, your site is going to go down. You got any thoughts on that? I mean, obviously, that's the WordPress way. You can do that if you wish. But do you have any concerns around that?
No, not more concerns than using a plugin at all.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you said. It's the WordPress way that people build on top of WordPress. And if you want to use those, you need to install the plugin. And if you want to keep using it, you need to keep using the plugin. I think it's because it's blocks, and some plugins are actually just extending the core block. So if the plugin goes away, I don't know. I haven't tested Spectra, but I think it's the start of or at the next phase of what started out in 3 years ago when additional block collections came out. Like Cadence is one from Stellar WP Cadence theme. There are others out there like co-blocks. With Richard Tabor at the co-founder that was sold to GoDaddy, and it's now a theme called Go. And there are others out there like Spectra that pivot from a Gutenberg block collection to a layout system in step with the core development, and core doing a lot of foundational work there. I have seen others that are not as prominent yet or haven't been live either that build full systems around it. And it really depends on how the plugin developers treat their users in terms of lock-in, how it will turn out if people decide to not use it anymore. And but it's with most plugins that give you additional functionality. When you switch it off, the custom post type is gone, the calendar is gone, all that.
Yeah. That block is just literally missing, and you get some kind of error message on your website. Yeah. So here's Jane Brenneker, who always puts me straight. She says, from an email from Brainstorm, as part of our undertaking, we are thrilled to announce that we are rebranding Ultimate Add-ons for Gutenberg to Spectra. So there's no news here. Let's move on. This, however, this is kind of cool. I do like this. WP Rocket. I confess I don't use it, but I know a lot of people who do, including my good friend David Wormsley. Lovely new feature. WP Rocket is, of course, a sort of optimization product, caching, and so on and so forth. WP Rocket 3.11, I don't know if you should say 3.11, I don't really know. Anyway, they've got this new technology where they are going to remove unused CSS. Now, essentially, I think what happens is you click a button, voodoo occurs, like just total magic. And then about 80 seconds later, your homepage has been scraped, scanned, and they figured out, actually, you know what? This ton of CSS is never getting used. Let's get rid of it. And instead, let's have this much slimmer version. Then it goes around to the rest of your website. And my understanding is that it takes a page every couple of minutes or something. So it hopefully, if you're on a minimal server, it'll cope. And it just strips out the bits and pieces that are not used on a page-by-page basis. I'm guessing it'll need to be constantly doing that if you're going around saving things on your site. Right down here is a comparison table. So here's the claim they're making. Elementor, if you begin with, it says a page builder used with WooCommerce, you'd have 924 kilobytes. This smushes it down to 113, so 88%. Pretty similar stats for Beaver Builder, 88%. Gutenberg, they claim to have got down by 88%. Visual Composer, you get the idea. I like it. I noticed that Jetpack has a similar feature. I don't know if it's doing it in the exact same way, but it seems like a no-brainer to me. I don't know. This seems like a nice technology.
Yeah, this seems great. It's one of the things I think it's been missing from a lot of these caching plugins. We've been able to do it when we're doing Node and things like that on the developer side, but rarely does that end up in a theme like that because we have so many things now that we can't forecast.
Yeah,
so this is great.
And typically, I think it would have just been done on a sort of site-wide basis, whereas this, by the looks of it, is taking the time to go to a page, figure it all out. And like I say, it's voodoo. Don't even ask. They don't know how they've done it. They just, did things and prayed to certain
I have
CSS
Newt.
gods.
Tiny frog.
Yeah, that's right. But it seems to work. And if you're a WP Rocket customer, bravo. I suspect this will start getting a lot of attention, and then a lot of the other plugins will go and do it as well. Like I said, I've seen that Jetpack does a similar thing. I enabled it on a WordPress website with Jetpack the other day, and it was crawling the site because this progress bar went across, and it took a long time to complete. It was like hours. So something was happening, not on the, it wasn't minutes, it was doing things slowly. So anyway, there we go. Very nice. And now, where are we now? So we're on to the user submitted content from our guests today. The first one that we're going to do is, I just want to say how lovely that brick wall is. That's just a lovely wall. This is yours, Birgit. Gutenberg Times, WordPress 6.0 dev notes, sneak peeks, and articles, weekend edition 214. What's this?
Well, this part of, I have a weekend edition every week about what happened in the Gutenberg or in the plugin or block editor kind of space. And last week's Saturdays is just mostly about the dev notes for the block editor, because there were many dev notes. But if you are interested in using in developing for the block editor building themes, these are the ones that you probably want to look at. And there were single posts in the top, and then below there is also a miscellaneous section where we only collect the snippets for it. And then in that post also the upcoming WordPress social learning meetups that are in May. So that's certainly interesting for everybody. I wanted to point out one thing. If you scroll up a little higher to the MISC with a little more. Yeah, here, that's one. There's one in the middle of it, and that says registration of blocks from within themes. That's a small change, but it's big for theme developers, especially for agency developers who build full sites for customers. And if they want to switch themes, they use the same contractor. But it was always hard to register blocks with the theme, and they had to maintain and deploy additional plugins for their theme. And that was kind of seemed to be quite a nightmare in the agency space for the last few years, because it's hard to do that. And now there's an official way to do this. Not that it's recommended, but it's still, if you are a theme developer and sell your theme, don't put blocks in there. But if you're an agency developer and you have one client and the theme is just for that, it definitely helps with being able to register all the blocks there.
You see Daniel nodding, thinking,
I like it.
Yeah, he's liking that. So that's gutenbergtimes.com, and this particular piece was released. Actually, I don't know. There's no...
Well,
no
it's
date,
on the bottom. It was on Saturday, last Saturday.
Okay, just this Saturday. Okay, so you'll be able to search for Saturday, the most recent, shall we say. I must say, Birgit, these list items, they're conspicuously lacking images. I think the next time this comes around, I'm hoping to see several images and other nested randomness.
Some block inception going on.
Right. Yes, that's it. That's what we're going to do. Block Inception. That's such a good name. I love it. Okay, thank you, Birgit, for that. And we'll try to link to that one in the show notes as well. So this is the user contributed bit from Michelle Frechette. Michelle has a camera, and she's very good at using it. I suspect if I had a camera, you'd be staring at pictures of my knees and my feet and things like that. And what are we looking at here? This is your Instagram post.
I only post the good pictures. There's tons that never see the light of day. But I spent last week on a bird watching, nature watching vacation, rented an Airbnb all by myself, and went out every day with the camera That's a great blue heron coming in for a landing.
It's
that one
such
there.
a
Nice
nice
catch.
picture.
Majestic.
Look at that. Did you crop that by any chance? Because it's like perfectly aligned in the middle, isn't it? You know, height, width, everything.
I mean, I'm an artist, so yes, of course I
Yeah,
did.
yeah. I was thinking you are good if you can get the bird to do what you like.
The other thing is, like, I don't know if I remember if I said this before we were on air or after, but almost every single photo I take is taken from the front seat of my car. So
Yeah.
I drive around. I don't walk well, and so getting out and hiking to see birds and things is just not something I'm able to do. So I drive through a lot of them are in a wildlife refuge, which, you know, is, you can go 5 miles an hour. It's one lane, but like the blue jay there, that was in a cemetery. I drove through a cemetery and I got that blue jay. A little further down, like the eagle on the right there, that was just I was just driving down a road, happened to look up and see it. So I pulled over, had the cameras with me. And then the green heron, which is right below that eagle, I know it's blue, but it's technically called a green heron. I was on a dirt road that I just thought looked interesting. And I swear I heard banjos hearing as I was playing because I was driving down the road. But I looked over and there was just this swampy still water. And I took a picture of just the water to kind of look later to see if I could see any fish in it. I looked to the right and there was that bird. And I took about 40 pictures of him. I went down the road again, and he was on a different log in a different direction. And I was just like, well, he just wants his picture taken. So
I'm going to let you into a confession, Michelle. I love taking pictures, but I'm the kind of guy that loves to just take pictures of how it is right now. And so I use my phone. And essentially, I just wanted to curate what was really happening with my kids. So I never went, smile. I just took the picture. But when over the more recent past, your stuff is coming up more and more in my Facebook feed. Like I've quit almost everything on Facebook, but your stuff gets through. And I've started to look at cameras. And my son, I told you the other day, didn't I? My son was kind of looking over my shoulder and he was looking at your stuff and he says, I want to do that. That looks really fun. So yeah, I'm gonna really. I think this would be very good for me. Put it that way, to get this as a hobby. I feel it would do me a world of good. Yeah,
it's a lot of fun and it takes practice. You know, the photos I take now are way better than what I took 5 years ago when I first got my camera. You know, and I was used to switch lenses for the zoom lens and the regular. Now I have 2 camera bodies so that I can just switch cameras and not have to constantly be switching lenses. And then I use a couple different photo editing software. I use Lightroom to develop the photos. And then if I need to really do any touch up and things like that, like let's say there's a branch in the way, I can go into Photoshop and remove those kinds of things.
Oh, I see. Yeah. But that's a lot of the fun as well, right? Just really getting into all of the editing side of things.
Absolutely.
The thing is, you've got eagles and fun stuff like that. If I did this in the UK, I'd get like blackbirds and robins. There's only so many. I'm gonna have to go on holiday.
You would be surprised.
I think you're right.
Once you start paying attention,
that's just the thing, right? Like I see animals all the time that I'll say, oh, there's a deer or oh, there's a finch, and people are like, where? I'm like, you just start to be tuned in to seeing it. That's a pie-billed grebe you just went by. That's a beaver on the left there that was in the swamp.
I'm not allowed to click on them anymore. Instagram's decided that I've clicked on too many things. So,
sandpiper.
I feel like this needs narration, like the majestic natural photography.
Yeah, and do you know who'd be quite good at that?
Yes, Daniel. We should do something together.
There's this guy with this silky smooth voice.
The green heron.
You would be so good at that. Oh, Michelle, I feel a project
Daniel,
coming
say the Canada gosling nestles under its mother's wing. I just want to hear you say that. Because that's what that is. It's a Canada gosling.
Nestles under its mother's wing.
It's so good. I'm going to write that down. What was that? The Canada gosling nestles. That's going to be the episode title for this week. That's a good one.
Don't say Canadian though, because the Canadian people get really irritated when you call it the Canadian goose. It's not a citizenship.
I see. Yeah, that's right. As soon as it crosses the border, it has to get some sort of check. Where's your passport?
There's no passport for British.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, what a lovely set of stuff. So,
thank you.
It's Instagram.com/Michelle. Well, I'll spell it MICHELLEAMES. It's not Frechette, it's Ames at the end. So
Correct.
I'll
Yeah,
try
that's
to
weird
include
once
that
upon
as
a
well.
time.
Yeah.
And that's the top one. It looks just like a regular goose. That is a snow goose. So like I
Oh.
actually have to go and look up these birds because I'm like, I know it's a goose, but what kind of goose is it? So
Yeah.
I just go to Google like
Yeah.
white goose, black tail feathers, and it's like, oh, it's a
Nice.
snow goose.
What a nice hobby. How nice is that?
Yeah, it's
Right,
fun.
we're going to quickly move on.
Yes, sorry.
Where did this one come from? Keeping Up with Gutenberg Index
Well,
2022.
it's a hand curated. It's a similar idea that Courtney had, but I started it for the Make blog with Keeping Up with Gutenberg. There's a lot of people that say it changes often, and I don't know where to go to keep it up and with what the changes are. So I started that in 2022, and now this is the third year.
So this
have
is
an index.
make.wordpress.org/core/handbook/references, but you just bookmark it. Keeping Up with Gutenberg Index hyphenated each of those words. And that URL stays the same. You just keep adding to it, right?
Yeah. And
you're
I
so
do
good.
for the previous years. So if you want to look at what was the changelog of Gutenberg plugin 12.5, you can go here and find it. And just
You
go
are a
through.
good custodian of all this stuff. You and Courtney, and just put us all to shame. It's brilliant. Right, and then Tiny Press. Go on, Daniel. Tell us about Tiny Press.
Well, Tiny Press was a concept I came up with just because I wanted to do something on the side where I could learn about doing email newsletters and that whole, ecosystem of all the plugins around it and everything. So I'm using Newsletter Glue for lists on top of WordPress and send it out. It's basically Gutenberg, on the back end. And it's just 3 links that I send out once a week, usually on Fridays. And they're just interesting things I found. So,
So it's a newsletter, but the difference is it's basically 3 links. It's just that each week.
Yep.
3 links, no more, no less, of something that you found curious in the week.
Yep, exactly.
So tinypress. How do we get on this list? I know I'm on the list, but I don't know.
Tinypress.email.
There you go.
Yep.
Tinypress.email. Oh, look, you couldn't have made it easier. That's fairly straightforward, isn't it? Tinypress.email. Put in your email address. Click subscribe. And you'll get onto Daniel's email list, and you get 3 links a week, and it's very helpful indeed. Thank you. It's the sort of thing that I use each week to see what's going on in WordPress. I'm going to share you my pick of the week, but my pick of the week for the first time ever is hardware. I want to show you this little thing. This is for podcasters, right? Look at this little beauty. This is the Zoom. I'll put it there. It's a bit. It's not easy to see. So it's got 4 XLR ports. It's called the Zoom P4, and you can plug in 4 sets of headphones, 4 microphones. You've got these little buttons. You've got these little buttons here which enable you to play, like, I don't know, intro music or outro music or jingles. And the idea is that it's battery operated. You just put in 2 AA batteries, and you can turn up to a live event. I don't know, something like WordCamp Europe, let's say, and sit down with some nice folk and drone on about WordPress. And it all fits. I was going to say I'd have to have fairly big pockets, but it fits in my hand, and that's kind of fun. So top tip, it's called the Zoom PodTrack P4. I've had a play with it this week, and it is highly, highly recommended. Cool. It's made of plastic. It looks like it's metal. It isn't. If I drop it, it'll be ruined, I'm sure, but I'm endeavoring not to drop it. So that's my recommendation for this week. If you like podcasting and you want to do stuff live, that's dead cool.
And what kind of microphones do you plug in?
Do you know what? I've got this one, but this is the Shure MV7, but it's not portable because it doesn't really, do you know what I mean? There's no way to hold it in your hand, and I feel like a lot of the live stuff is going to be somebody holding it in the hand. So I've got a couple of these, which are just pretty basic. They're called the Audio Technica ATR 2100X, and it's got it's quite nice because it's got an XL. I can't even pull it out now. It's got an XLR connection in the bottom, as well as a USB connection and headphones. So you could plug the headphones of your guest right into there and there's a little volume dial. It's a bit on the plosive side, meaning that if they go topic, you get the P hits really hard. So I'm going to have to educate people to just hold it sideways like that, and it'll be fine. But they're the ones I'm going to use, I think. There you go.
I use that.
Bonus, you could do karaoke with those too, probably.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. WordPress karaoke.
Yeah.
What could
Just
possibly go wrong?
Directly from WordCamp Europe.
That's
Pre-show
right,
of the...
Yeah. Sorry, Daniel, you were going to say.
I used the what was it, the Zoom H4n for years, which was one of the older predecessors.
It's basically a similar setup, only it's got like dials to turn up people, turn down people, headphones. So these pots are for the headphone volume, so each person gets a different volume. These are for the mic volume, and you can mute them. You can bring somebody in on Skype. I won't keep going on, but I think it's really great, and it's teeny tiny, so it'll fit in the backpack. And it honestly, I'm going to talk in kilos. I reckon it weighs like 300 grams. I mean, it's nothing. It's like there's voodoo in there. If I open it up, I reckon there's a wizard, a small wizard in there, just like that. Anyway, that's it. We've done. Unless you guys have got anything else.
You plug it into a laptop, right, to get the
it just that's it.
Record it right there.
Oh, so there's an SD card, like a regular SD card. And so it records everything. It records every track separately, as well as every track bounced onto one. So you can edit it if you want to after the fact. But anyway, I've bored everybody to death now, so I'm quite excited.
We are all podcasters.
yeah, that's right.
It's like the second or third time you've said voodoo. So if you don't register wpvoodoo.com by the end of the day,
now you're talking. There was something else I was going to register earlier as well, wasn't there? I've forgotten. Thank you. Fun episode, says Patricia
Canada Goose.
That's nice to hear. Thank you so much. And she wants to know if there's a bird app.
I'm sure there must be. I haven't discovered it yet.
I wonder if there's an app that you can throw a photo into and it'll tell you accurately what the bird. I bet there is. And again,
there's one bird photo I haven't identified yet, so I'll have to look for that.
Okay. Well, that's it. That's all we got for this week. We're very late. I'm sorry for the guests. I'm 4 minutes over, but thank you, Birgit. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Michelle. Now, Daniel, you don't know about this. This is the humiliating bit at the end where everybody has to raise their hands and wave Birgit all at the same time. We don't have to do it for long. That's probably more than enough. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. We'll put this out as a podcast episode next week, and we'll see you all next week for This Week in WordPress.
Thank you.